Kyder here once again, and welcome back to some rFactor 2, as it's time for my first review of 2019. Now today, what I've got here is possibly my most eagerly anticipated mod for rFactor 2, and that is the FVRFactor V8 Supercars 2018 mod, which replicates the 2018 V8 Supercars season. Duh. So what I aim to do in this review is talk about the three cars that are available, show you what they look like, talk about the changes between this mod and the previous 2016 mod that I reviewed late last year, I think, and then take to the streets of Adelaide to see how they handle. Now normally when I do these mod reviews, 99% of the time you are seeing my first ever lap, so you get as much of a genuine first impression as possible. But this is V8 Supercars and I couldn't wait to drive them, so I've spent the last week or so hooning around Bathurst. Now if you're a regular here, you'll know that I love these things and have probably done more laps in the Ford Falcon than any other car available in any other sim, and that includes Formula 1 cars. There are no more words I can really use to describe how much fun these things are and how much I love them. So what is a V8 supercar? Now you're probably thinking of something like an Aston Martin V8 Vantage, the McLaren 650S or the Ferrari 458, but in terms of a race series, V8 Supercars, or just Supercars as it is now, is Australia's main touring car series and possibly the best series on the planet in terms of the mix of... In the 2016 review I did in November, I think it was, I described these cars as being if NASCAR fucked DTM and the BTCC. So imagine my surprise when I discovered that this was the intention to have it like this. The car of the future, which is the spec that these are built to, was developed by CAMS with input from V8 Supercar legend Mark Scaife. And in a podcast called Rusty's Garage, which I highly recommend, he said that it was always the intention to mix the grunt and simplicity of NASCAR with the aero of DTM and the competitiveness of the BTCC. The end result is 1.5 tons of touring car that does stuff that, looking at it, it shouldn't be able to do. Now all the cars are front engine and under the regulations can be 4, 6 or 8 cylinders that do not exceed Supercars' homologated engine output and weighted average. That said, all the cars on the 2018 and the 2019 grid use a 5 litre naturally aspirated V8 with fuel injection, which produces between 460 and 485 kilowatts, which put into proper terminology translates to 620 to 650 brake horsepower. Both the Fords and the Holdens use American Ford and Chevrolet V8s, while Nissan uses a version of its own engines. And all the engines are limited to 7,500 RPM and have a 10:1 compression ratio. Whatever the hell that means. I'll say that again, you filthy bitch. Isn't pump fuel like in Formula 1, but bioethanol. Now the suspension is double wishbone for the front and independent rears, and the anti-roll bars can be adjusted from inside the cockpit. The brakes are supplied by AP Racing, which have 15-inch disc diameters and 6 pistons, while the rears are 14 inches and have 4-piston calipers. I didn't understand a word of that apart from the diameter bit. The wheels are 18 inches and they are control rims supplied by the Neil's family. And the control tyres are from Dunlop, also just up the road from my office. The full cost of one of these beats? Yeah, for one of these beats. One of these beasts is around $250,000 Australian dollars or £134,000. So one of these, or a house in Palfrey. I'm going to take the car. Now, the 2018 season was the first season using the Holden ZB Commodore, or the Vauxhall Insignia if you live up here, which was homologated during 2017 to be used in 2018. All of the existing Holden teams either used the new ZB or continued to use a reskinned VF Commodore, and the whole ZB project was overseen by 888 Race Engineering, who run the Red Bull cars. Now, the REC is a contract between supercars and a team which contains the entitlements and obligations, and the RECs may be leased by their owners to another team for a maximum of 2 years, after which the owner must field their own car or sell it on, with the numbers being tied to the REC as opposed to the driver, which I think is the same system they use in NASCAR. The champion has the choice of using his pre-championship number or use the number 1, and just like Lewis Hamilton, Scott McLaughlin has kept his number 17 for this year, while Jamie Whincup used the number 1. ProDrive Racing Australia got rebranded Tickford Racing, although the Supercheap Auto, Monster Energy and Bottle-O cars all remain the same. Walkinshaw Racing was rebranded as Walkinshaw Andretti United after Andretti Motorsports followed in what Roger Penske had done with Dick Johnson's team in buying a stake. This season was also the final year for the Ford FGX Falcon before the Mustang replaced it in 2019, and also the final full-time season for Craig Lowndes, and the year in which the Generation 2 Supercar was launched. I think it said Cooper car. And that allows cars that aren't four-door saloons, such as the ZB Commodore and the Mustang, to race. So maybe in the next couple of years, the Chevrolet Camaro or the Kia Stinger might come in. So technobabble out of the way, we need to have a look at what we get in this new version compared to the 2016 mod. Well, this version is a completely new mod with all new physics, textures, and includes the ZB Commodore. All the textures are DX11 ready, full HD with a non-1080p version in the works, and Ferret40 has done a fantastic job with recreating the 2018 liveries. The mod also takes advantage of some of the new rFactor 2 features, such as the window wipers and water build-up on the cars, and uses the latest rFactor 2 tyre model. The three manufacturers are all represented in Ford, Holden and Nissan, and each car has a specific talent file, so qualifying and races will be like you'd expect them to be. So, Scott McLaughlin, Shane Van Gisbergen, David Reynolds and company will all be at the front, and then your Todd Hazelwoods, your James Goldings and Andre Heimgartners will be at the back. And there are AI fixes in the pipeline, as at the minute the straight line speed of the AI is a little OP right now. So, just a quick look at the tuning menu in showroom view to look at before we get onto track, and I'll start at the top and work my way down. Now, there are two versions available here, the 2018 version and the multiplayer version. The 2018 version has all the talent files and each of the diff settings and tyre types are locked to each of the tracks on the V8 Supercars calendar. So at Bathurst, you're going to have the soft tyres and the longest diff and gear settings, while at somewhere like Sandown, Phillip Island, there will be different settings for each track. So I'm going to click on here, and then, sorry, my thing got stuck under my phone. Anyway, you might think that being locked to a tyre type would be annoying, but thinking about it, it's not so bad. Because rFactor 2 has this nasty bug in it, which means that the AI will always default to the hardest tyre compound available. And I've done 2 races at Adelaide now on this channel using the 2016 mod, and I started on the harder tyre, but then switched to the soft for the final stint and ended up just decimating the rest of the field, even with the difficulty turned up high enough to demand a challenge when on the hards. I mean, it's hardly immersive, is it? So now, with this mod, at Melbourne, Tasmania, Perth, Winton, Darwin, Townsville, Ipswich, Sydney, The Bend, Sandown, Gold Coast and Newcastle, you're stuck with the super soft tyres, and through process of elimination, you're now stuck with the soft tyres at Bathurst, Adelaide, Auckland and Phillip Island. So for the dual tyre round bit on the tuning screen, that's irrelevant for this side of the mod and is more for leagues running at places like, I don't know, Hockenheim or something like that. Now, so far I've only driven at Ipswich, Bathurst and Adelaide, so looking forward to testing at other tracks, and I really need to get Phillip Island as I've not driven there since the Toka Race Driver 2 days. Motec options isn't working yet. Now, in the old mod, you basically had a option where you could change the positioning of the Motec, but they've released this version, so we've finally got something to play with, and then they'll just finish that bit later. I mean, it's not like it's a major part or anything, so we'll just ignore that portion of the setup screen for now. LCD panel, now you've got a couple of options here, off and on, and basically what this does is it puts the head-up display that you'd get in the bottom right of the screen placed in the car. So it's a really cool feature that I quite like, and it adds to the immersion. Now, obviously the real drivers don't have that in real life, but if you're one of these hardcore non-HUD racers, this feature will be quite useful for you. Driver in spinner just allows the driver in the car in showroom view, so nothing to see here. Transmission mod, you've got Bebop 01's FVR original or Seahawks 1 fan modified. I use the mod version, I just prefer it. 2018 diff. This is locked to the Aussie track, so you can't change this even if you did try to force the setup. And believe me, I've tried because I wanted to use the super softs at Bathurst. And then underneath that, we've got the brake pedal level 1, which is for potentiometer based brake pedals like mine, and brake pedal number 2 is for the cool kids who have load cells. And then you've got force feedback type underneath that. I've just left it on default and not really done any testing with the others yet, so I'll have to do that before the next version drops. Now, in the multiplayer version, you get all the same options, but the talent files are removed, and you've got open diffs for online racing, and server admins can lock the tyre types used or whatever. I mean, I'm probably never going to use it. So all that said, just the thank you portion to the team at FVRFactor, who have given this to us for free and done this in their spare time. So Ferret40, Ferralari and Flash QLD, who did the skins. The number 15 Nissan, which I'll probably show you in a minute, was done by Dan Stevens. Ferralari did the physics, the windows and the INI file reworks, and then Bebop01 did the sounds and is in the process of updating them. So we'll get some new sounds for the 3 cars soon, I hope. And then the tyre model from Studio 397. So with all the blurb out the way, we'll have a look at the 3 cars. So I've got the champion, well, the 2018 champion, Scott McLaughlin's car here. We just zoom in. We've got some pretty decently high quality textures. I don't know why I said pretty decently high quality textures. They are very, very good textures. Much better 2016. So the skills of the painters has improved no end. Just a little bit of a thing here with the doors. You know, that's blatantly painted on. You can't actually see the door handles. But maybe if we come around the other side, it's a bit darker than this. So yeah, the model doesn't actually have door handles. They're just painted on. But you know what? If you've got time to look at that kind of thing, then you're going too slow. Looks phenomenal. Ford Falcon. What a beautiful looking car. I'm sad it's gone. The Mustang looks okay in my opinion, but you know, I very much prefer the Falcon. So this is the DGR Team Penske car. Looks a lot like Joey Logano's car in NASCAR, doesn't it? Yeah, I quite like this. My graphics aren't turned up that high, to be honest. I mean, my anti-aliasing is like on level 2, but this is all a work in progress. And they're only going to get better. You know, FVRFactor have given us some pretty great mods over the years. We've got the FVRFactor thing just there on the side. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut out here, and I'm going to load up one of the Holdens and show you what that looks like, and then I'll show you the Nissan, and then we'll go to Adelaide and see what it will do. So I'll cut here. Stay tuned. I'll be back in a second. And secondly on the list of 3 cars is Nick Percat's Holden Commodore. Quite a familiar sight around the streets of the West Midlands, given that most police cars in West Midlands Police are Commodores, well, insignias. But I mean, I quite like this livery. This one's pretty cool. The car looks fantastic, very, very detailed. Once again, a very, very good paint job on here. This one, this car has 3D handles though, so I don't know if there'll be an update for the model to the Falcon at some point. I also don't know why it's like flashing around and stuff, but yeah, I think that's just down to showroom view. It's like the deserted Top Gear studio, isn't it? But I like it. I like it a lot. Again, I don't think that the ZB looks as good as the VF did. I mean, I did have a little bit of a soft spot for the VF Commodore, just a shame about the badge. But fun fact, James Alexander Holden, he's from my neck of the woods. He's a yam, you know. Well, he's from Warsaw, so he probably talked like this. And then he went to Australia. And I bet his accent got really fucked up down there. Yeah, he's like, yeah, of course, mate, proper. Imagine a black country Aussie hybrid. I'm not even going to attempt to do it. But anyway, I've rambled on long enough. I'm going to break out the Nissan Altima now. Liam, as I like to call it. Liam Nissan. Because, as you're about to see, it's the size of a fucking tank. And finally, the number 15 Nissan. This is the one that was painted by the other guy. I've forgotten his name already, but this must have taken forever. I mean, look at that. That is fantastic. I mean, shame about the driver, Rick Kelly. There was a quiz on the Supercars website where you had to name all the, well, how many champions were on the grid in 2018. So, like, yeah, McLaughlin, Wincup, name them all, and then, oh, you got it wrong. Why? Who did I miss? Oh, yeah, Kelly. Yeah, I forgot he won it once. Punted Lambsy off the track to win it, didn't he? But anyway, like I say, the Nissan, it looks bigger even though all the cars are the same size. It's madness, but this is a gorgeous looking car. I really do like this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all 3 cars to Adelaide, run them on the default setup, see what's what with them, and then give you my opinions and all that good stuff. So I'll probably put a timestamp as well to this point, so you can avoid all the technobabble at the beginning and sort of do and all that good stuff. It's my first review in a very, very long time, so I've probably waffled on long enough. But yeah, let's go and do some driving, shall we? Okay then, so we are here at Adelaide. I'm just going to have a quick look through the old setup here. And the clock starts ticking. We've got all that stuff. This is all the same as it was in the previous mod. So I think some of the physics files will be a bit different. But 4.5 degrees of camber, that's a lot. How far would it go? 8 degrees! Nice! That is definitely a lot, as... is that one of the Kelly brothers who just went flying past me? I think it was. And then the Cool Drive car, Tim Blanchard, who has also left the series. So, let's see what we could do with this. If the cars start overtaking me, it's deliberate. I've deliberately turned the difficulty up so that they will overtake me. You can see some of the different cars in action. One of the Boost Mobile cars there. Yeah, so let's get going. I hope that the volume is all good. Let me just turn... should be okay. Let me put that on 11. See what happens. Anyway, let's go. And what I do like about this car is the new head-up display. Well, not the head-up display, but the Motec in the Falcon looks brilliant. Sounds are all the same as they were before. Go for a little bit of a spin. Wrong one. Right, Adelaide, South Australia. Now, one thing I can tell you immediately is that the old mod, when you changed up through the gears, you got wheel spin, and that doesn't happen in these cars now. They're much better behaved. Gears here. Try and stay out the wall. Oh, he's in the fence! We're both in the fence! They're all in the fence! Must have been one of the best races ever, that. And one of the things that I've noticed immediately when taking this car out for the first time is that you can be much more aggressive on the curves. The car is a lot more balanced. Send the brake balance forward a couple of clicks. There's one of the Red Bulls. Couldn't tell if Van Gisbergen or Whincup. But there is no way you could have done that in the old mod like I just did. Get pulled up. Much more stable on the brakes as well. It doesn't want to skit around like it's on ice. Even with my brake pedal in its current fucked up state, it's behaving itself. I like it. I can just obliterate that curb. I would have been able to do that on the weekend because they moved the tyre wall closer. A couple of cars got caught out by it. Still need to feed the power though. Honk to you too, sir. But overall, the car a lot more stable than it once was. But it will still punish you if you get it wrong, like I just found out. So what this does for my lap time, although I can't actually see my lap time. Okay, fair enough. Oh shit! And the Romanian judge awards him a 9.2. That didn't go to plan, did it? Okay, back to the pits. Let's watch that again. I'm intrigued. Yeah, just lock the rears and way. What was my lap time? Okay, so I'm 2 seconds a lap faster. I maybe need to turn the difficulty up a smidge. Take 2. Let's go. So very planted across the curves. Much more stable. Probably do one more time lap in the old Falcon and then break out the Vauxhall and see what that's like. Because in the old mod, the 3 cars, they handled differently. Well, it was 4 cars back then, of the Volvo, the Ford, the Holden and the Nissan. So it'll be interesting to see if they've still retained their characteristics. So the Ford and the Nissan handled very similarly, while the Holden and the Volvo handled very similarly. But they still needed their own way of being driven. Yeah, get out of my way. Locking, that's my fault, not the cars. Just taking it easy, not looking to break any lap records here today. Who's that ahead? So Van Gisbergen's now second. So the usual suspects are at the top end of the standings. Scott Pye's quite high up. Pluck first, give it some jandle and fuck yeah! And I didn't go faster that time. Almost held up Holdsworth, who now drives the Botlow car. I'm just going to park up in the middle of the chicane here, show you the outside viewage of this car. Quite an orange hue to Adelaide. It is late afternoon, but this is Scotty Mac's championship winning car from 2018. So I've been driving around long enough in the Ford. Let's break out the Holden and see how that handles. Hang on. Alright then, Nick Percat's Holden Commodore. Let's go for a spin. Is that Rick Kelly ahead? Yeah, don't hit anybody, Rick. Oh no, I've just hit a man at 30 miles an hour. I'll continue to keep my foot buried. It's a lot more responsive, the Holden, compared to the Ford. So very much like the old car, you know, the old VF. Then it might be Simona ahead. Is that Simona? That is Simona. Much easier to keep the power down across that curb. Let's try and catch up to these guys and girl. And I love how those sponsors on the centre console there scroll like they do in the real car. I wonder what determines, you know, that. Is it a script, or is it, you know, triggered by the brake pedal or a gear shift? Yeah, I don't know. Alright, time lap, let's go. Bouncing across the curves. Not the line I would have taken, but I could have rolled the car there in the old mod. I didn't. And speaking of women in this series, the Grand Tour's Abby Eaton ran in the Super 2 series. Fucking love this car. Had the first instance of, yeah, the car's starting to break loose. If you try to power out the corner at certain speeds, there's like a threshold. It's about 100 kilometers an hour. And you start to feel the power on, the car just wants to rotate. It's the only issue I've found with the mod so far. Can we get a better run through here now? Yes! Yeah, the Holden wants to dance more than the Ford does. Very responsive. Out of the way, Rick. The problem with the car over-rotating isn't so much of a problem here, but at Bathurst it's horrible. You really cannot get the power down coming out of the cut-in. The car just wants to break away from you with the slightest amount of throttle application. So I don't know if the diff settings are all wrong or it's supposed to do that or whatever, but yeah, it just makes them so difficult to drive. And the old cars never used to break away under throttle. You had to absolutely match the throttle to get them to really brake. I mean, you still had to apply the power slowly, like that's Cam Waters. Yeah, you had to apply the throttle gradually, but nowhere near what you have to do in these. I'll probably put it into better wording when we go and look at there's Garth Tambert. Hopefully I won't get punted by him. Locking the brakes, or the rear brakes, which is my doing rather than the car's. But it's so nice to have these cars. They're just so much more stable. It's like they've been brought light years into the future. Well, actually no, light years a unit of distance rather than time. Is it? I don't know. Maybe need to watch more Star Trek. Out of the way, GT, come on. No. So again, the car broke away a little bit on the exit of that corner, but nowhere near as badly as it does at Bathurst. So I'm going to pull over here. Haven't done enough laps, and have a look at the outside of the car. Brilliant. Looks great. Doesn't look like a cartoon like the old one. It actually looks like it's part of the sim now. So yeah, I like driving that. That was a lot of fun. And also, R.I.P. Douglas Nick Percat's Chocolate Labrador. But yeah, that's. I'm not even touching the brake, and the brake lights are spazzing out. Piece of shit pedals. Anyway, let's move on to the final car, the Nissan, and then we'll do the final thoughts. And the final car of the three is Michael Caruso's Nissan Altima. The thing feels big, heavy and lumpy, but it's a fucking rocket in a straight line. Boing, boing. That will never get boring. I could do the full Clipsal 500 and never get bored of curb hopping through there. Pull up, come on. A lot of grip initially, which is pretty cool. And also one thing I should really point out is, even though the physics have all changed, your setups are... They're not redundant. You can still use them. You might need to tweak them a smidge, but you don't need to abandon all of your setups. But as it stands, we might be looking at the best rFactor 2 mod of 2019. I know we're only in March, but with all the updates, and I don't know why my sound keeps chopping off. It's only happened with the recent update to OBS, which now uses less resources. Ah, come on, Simona, out of my way. Come on. Really? Move, bitch. Get out of the way. Get out of the way, bitch. Get out of the way. Thank you. Love you. Davison ahead. Looks like the 32 red car. But there's not really much else to say about the Nissan. I think this bit might be the shortest drive because it's just so damn good. I mean, out of the three, it's probably the easiest to drive when you're not understeering through the corner like that. There we go. Back end braking loose. I think it might be something to do with the diff settings, with this whole spinning out of corners, but like I say, when we get back and do the final thoughts, I might be able to explain it a bit. Well, there it goes. I'll be able to explain it a little bit better. I have mentioned it to them, but like I say, they've been trying to work out if it's me or it's the car. I want to think it's me. I'm not ruling it out, you know. Tools car of Will Davison. I thought it was 32 red, or is it 32 red this year? Yeah, I can't remember. Lousy's fastest. Lachlan's fastest. I mean, right out of the box, the Nissan is definitely the best car. I just drive the Ford because, well, that's my thing. So being held up by Simona cost me all that time. And now I've caught up. Jack LeBrock and Davison here. This should put me fastest. Thank you very much. We can see that the talent files have worked. Red Bulls, Penske, Lousy, Frosty 6th. Nice. Anyway, I'm going to park up here. I think we're done with the old Nissan. What a great looking car. I mean, that is the state of my brake pedal. Look, I'm off it. I'm off it. I'm off it. There he goes. Yep, there. Anyway, michaelcarusosdrive.com.au car. Fantastic. Love it. Anyway, let's go back into showroom view and do some final thoughts. So, laps of Adelaide completed, we just need to go into the final thoughts section of the review. And this is a new format I'm trying out in my reviews where I actually provide a conclusion as opposed to just driving around and going, yeah, it's alright that. So I'm trying to give you something a little more comprehensive for a change. So the first noticeable improvement I found is the cars are now much more stable under braking and over the curbs. That chicane at Adelaide is now a left-right you can actually curb hop through instead of gingerly going through hoping you don't roll it. And the car won't flip when you do spin out at high speed, as happened in the last review I did. They don't need much setup work either to be able to pull up in a straight line, and they don't wobble around when braking at very high speed, which allows you to brake a bit harder before the car is straight, which is helpful going into corners like the chicane at the Chase, or as we saw here going into turn 9. The wheels don't light up on the gear changes anymore. This was a problem in the old mod, as when you change into second, third and sometimes fourth gear, the rear wheels got a boost of torque sent to them that over time would wear out the rears quicker and overheat, and that was very problematic coming out of corners like the hairpin at Symonds Plains and turn 9 here at Adelaide. And overall the graphics of the mod have improved significantly. The new ZB Commodore looked great, as well as the Castrol Nissan looking as good in-game as it did in real life. And the addition of the talent files is brilliant, allowing for a more realistic and immersive experience, and the AI updates that are coming in the pipeline should make that even better, as well as the sound updates. But the only one issue I have with this mod, and this is something that a couple of others have brought up when I've asked them, is the car wants to rotate a little too much on throttle application, and it can get very loose, particularly at tracks like Ipswich and Bathurst. Now, Adelaide, it wasn't so bad because most of the corners are slow, but any corner where you're carrying speed and momentum at more than about 100 kilometers an hour and you start feeding the power mid-corner, the car just starts kicking out, which never happened in the old model, any other V8 Supercar I've driven for that matter. Now, like I said in the track demo, maybe it's supposed to do that, but I don't know. Yeah, just a bit of confirmation. You know, am I a shit driver? It's probably that. But, you know, the car is very drivable, or the cars are very drivable, and this mod is still a work in progress with a lot of updates to come, and it's only going to get better. So, yeah, I'll probably do some more reviews as the updates come, mainly on the physics front, so I don't think I'll really do a massive one for any of the sound updates or anything like the AI updates, but if there's a physics update that comes out, by all means I will review that. So, should you get this mod from the workshop? Oh yes, you should. Now, if you're a V8 Supercar fan, this mod is right up your street, and even if you're an open wheel or GT guy looking for a challenge, these things will give you a great experience and then some. So I'm really looking forward to the updates that come for this, and I'll have to do a race of these at some point, but maybe at a different track since I've already done 2 longish distance races at both Adelaide and Ipswich. Maybe Barbagallo or Sydney, I don't know. So that's it from me. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Aidan Milward, and if you enjoyed this video, give it a like, and if you want to see more, then hit the subscribe button and get the bell on so you never miss one of my future videos. And if you enjoy what I do and want to support me at a more personal level, you can do so by going to my Patreon page. So until next time, have a great day wherever you are in the world, and goodbye.